Hi, everyone. It's a ticket to Christ. We're still on lean, not on your own understanding. Genesis 16. Now, Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that he had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. Okay, we'll pause there, and I'd encourage you to read this whole story or whole incident account. It's very fascinating. And this is a good example of why it's important not to lean on your own understanding. Now, what happened? So Abram was promised an heir, a son, a child from his own loins, meaning God says, I'm going to give you a son. God did not tell him how, right? When Abraham was 75 and Sarai was 66, God made that promise to them. So they were pretty well along the age when the promise was made. So here in chapter 16, it's 10 years later and still nothing. Abraham is 85. Abram, he was at that time 85, and Sarai, as she was called then, was 76. And we see here, we're focusing in on Sarai, the wife, because Sarai, and women, you know this, she probably started to get very insecure and start blaming herself. Oh, it's me, it's my fault. I'm the one that's stopping the promise. And I'm the one who, it's been 10 years, I'm 76, there's no way this is going to happen. And then she starts to lean on her own understanding. And then when you lean on your own understanding, what happens? You start to self-rely. You start to look at things from a natural point of view, and you take things into your own hands. And here it was disaster. I mean, what on earth? Who would take their own maid? And we can't look at this through Western modern eyes. I think back then, you basically, the women are the carriers of life on the planet Earth. You cannot have life without a woman giving birth. It can't happen. Or who God chose to advance the human race physically here on Earth. And that was the role to, if you did not have enough children, if you did not have enough heirs and people, you're in a powerless, weak position. It's the numbers of people that you could bring on the planet Earth that was considered to be wealth, and especially if you had people who could work hard and defend your territory. And so for Sarai and Abram at this moment, it was a situation where Sarai was thinking that she was doing a good thing, that she was going to use wisdom. She's thinking, okay, this is a common practice, I guess, that they did in that time, kind of like a form of surrogacy, I guess. And she thought, what happened was she thought that then this would become her child and it would be a part of their family. That's how I guess they did it back then. But Hagar, I guess, felt that as a result of her being the one to be able to get pregnant, despised Sarai because Sarai wasn't able to do it. And Hagar got above herself. Hagar did not understand the bigger picture. She didn't understand the spiritual significance of what was going on. And she started to act out. And Sarai was not going to have it. She's like, really? Who do you think you are? And, the rest is history. She says, get out of my house, lady. And take your little child with you and go, who do you think you are? And if you read on, the Lord sent Hagar back to submit to Sarai. And then eventually when, Ishmael was 13, Isaac was born, and then Hagar got sent away again, and God provided for her, and the rest is history. But here we see a big mess unfolding because of the lack of faith of Sarai, her lack of confidence in the promises of God for her, and her not submitting to her role and just being patient and waiting for the Lord. It wasn't her responsibility to do and to take and to do anything, to make anything happen, because God made the promise to Abram. He didn't come to Sarai with the promise. It was a promise and a covenant made to Abram, and God was the one who would fulfill that promise. And so this is a really good life account to study out if you are in a situation whereby God made a promise to you. You're clear it came from God. It's been 10 years. It's been years. Nothing has happened. Just as a lesson learned, don't take things into your own hands. Don't lean on your own understanding and make foolish decisions that have awful impacts on the lives of those who are dependent on you and on the lives of those who you are interacting with, or you have a relationship with or a friendship with, because we see here from that example how these things can unravel. And in the end, God, of course, worked it out in a sense, but it still had long-lasting, generational, devastating impacts of those involved, because Hagar and Ishmael's descendants, I believe to this day, are at loggerheads with the descendants of Isaac. So there you go. I hope that blesses you, gave you food for thought, and that you're enjoying the study on leaning not on your own understanding. God bless you. Take care. Bye.